right, so the 2025 CIAA tournament brackets have come out. But before we get too far into that, let's recap senior night. Unfortunately, the Lady Bulldogs came up just short with a 1-point loss versus Lincoln. But the story of the day was the complete and utter annihilation that the men's team received versus Lincoln. I mean, man, oh man, that was embarrassing. Complete and utter domination. And being there in person watching the game, what jumped out to me was there was a level of intensity that Lincoln played with that was far above the intensity of Bowie State. Because if you really watch Lincoln, it's not like they had like these crazy ball handlers or these outstanding dudes that could, get to the rim, and they just had these super sharp shooters, and that wasn't the case. All they did was they played super hard on defense. And once they got a miss, they rebounded the miss, and they were gone. They were getting down the court extremely fast. They were outrunning us, out-efforting us, out-energying us by a lot. And honestly, it just seemed as if the Bulldogs were not ready for that level of intensity. It seemed like they weren't ready. They weren't as locked in as Lincoln, not even close. They weren't ready for that effort. They weren't ready for that intensity. They weren't level for that. They weren't ready for that focus. But the way Lincoln played yesterday is how a team should look that's preparing for a championship run. They've ramped up. They've turned it up a notch. They've turned it up a level. They're playing extremely hard, extremely tough, extremely focused. They're giving it 110%. And that's how it should be as you go into the tournament. So, I'm not going to lie, seeing that game had me questioning how far the Bulldogs will go this year. But let's get into the brackets. Let's start with the women's side. So, on the women's side, the ladies start off with I can't lie, I like the bracket in terms of how it's laid out for the men and the women. So, we start off with Winston-Salem. I'm talking about the women's side. Bowie starts off with a game against Winston-Salem on the 25th. That's got to be a dub. That's got to be a dub. So the ladies are going to get out the first round, I think, fairly easily, skate right past Winston-Salem State. And after they do that, they will be meeting Livingstone. That's another game I think they can and should win. And so just like that, all the Lady Bulldogs have to do is get past Winston-Salem State and Livingstone, and boom, semifinals. Playing on the 28th. I think the semifinals is a reasonable expectation for Lady Bulldogs, right? So then we look at the men's. We start off against Livingstone. That's a game that we must win. See, here's the thing. The level of intensity that Lincoln played with, we played like that before. We did that against Virginia State at Virginia State. We did that at Howard. We did that in the first half against Bluefield at home. Now, Bluefield, they came back and made it a good game. But listen, so we've done it. The question is that switch going to be flipped when we get down to Baltimore into this tournament? Because I'm not going to lie to you. A short existence in this tournament is how people lose their jobs. That's just what it is. In my opinion, in order for everybody to be safe, and when I say safe, I'm just talking about when you really look at the contracts people have and the length that they are, I think a lot of what happens goes forward is going to be determined by how this tournament goes. So in order for people to get, the type of deals and the contracts and extensions that they would like to receive, I think we probably should have to get to the semifinals. That's only winning 2 games. The first game, once again, is versus Lincoln. If we get past Lincoln, it's a rematch against Virginia State. It's a third matchup. We've played them twice. We split with them. We can beat Virginia State, and we need to beat Virginia State because we need to make it to the semifinals. I don't see why the Bowie State men and women's team cannot advance to the semifinals. Now, here's the thing with the men's. If we get to the semifinals, it's more than likely we're playing Lincoln or Claflin. Now, I'm going to be fair and I'm going to be honest, right? Up until this point, I have not seen anything that tells me that the men's team can beat Claflin or Lincoln. So I'm not saying they got to win that game and go to the championship. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is they got to beat Lincoln and they got to beat Virginia State. And they got to get to the semifinals. If the Bulldogs can get to the semifinals, that's a success. As far as the ladies, let's go back to that bracket. I mean, listen, Winston-Salem, you don't want to overlook anybody because anything can happen, but Winston-Salem is pretty much a bye, a first-round bye, as close as you can get to it. Then you got the quarterfinals against Livingstone. That's a game the Lady Bulldogs can win. So then who would their opponent be? Let's see. I'm assuming their opponent will probably be either Shaw or Virginia State. So they could win. It's possible. But all I'm saying is the men and the women should be able to reach the semifinals. That's it. They should be able to do that. That happens, successful year all around. But what do you guys think? How far, looking at these brackets, who do you think will win it all? How far do you think the Bulldogs will go? And how many of you will I see down in Baltimore this weekend?